Hi, I'm Cry. Today, we're going to be making a blanket, but using very easy stitches. If you're like me and you like soft things, you probably want to get some Bernat Softy baby yarn. I used baby blue because the color that I wanted to make this blanket in is a darker shade of blue, but I didn't know that because on Michael's, where I online shopped for this, they had this in a different color. So I have 4 balls, each have 362 yards each, about. I think I needed like 1,000 yards or something like that. I also have a pair of US number 9 5.5 millimeter Takumi bamboo circular needles. They are 29 inches long, so this is the cord that runs between those. It's 29 inches long. These are brand spanking new. I really like Takumi needles because they're made out of bamboo, so it's a little softer, and I have little baby hands, so my fingers hurt whenever I knit with metal needles. So I hate metal needles. I really just wanted to get the sparkling water shot. Also, the light might change a lot because I'm going to be recording this over time because I have an assignment due tomorrow and a presentation tomorrow, and I'm just putting it off because I want to knit. So the first thing you want to do is take off your packaging and throw it, and then you'll find it like 3 weeks later. And then you want to unravel your yarn and measure about 3.5 to 4 yards. I measured way too many yards for this to cast on, and I had a lot of yarn left over in my tail yarn. But if you're big on not wasting yarn, just don't do as many yards as I did. So now you want to do a slip knot. So in my right hand you see my tail yarn, and then I flip it, and then whichever yarn is underneath, you want to pull it through, and then that's your slip knot. And it's really easy to undo. You just pull both sides. Then you slip it onto your needle, and you make sure your tail yarn is on your left. The tail yarn is the yarn that's already cut. And then you want to cast on, this is the way that I do it, and I do it like really weird. So you want to put your pointer finger and your thumb finger through, and you just kind of do that, and you can just watch it, and then you go under the first loop and then over the second loop and grab the third loop. And if you didn't get that the first time, just go back and watch it as I poorly explain it. For this project, you have to cast on 170 stitches, and because I'm very bad at counting, every 10 stitches I made a tally mark, and then every so often I just went back and recounted everything because I suck at counting. I will post the pattern at the end just for anyone that doesn't want to follow along. You can see the pattern for a hat that I'm trying to make underneath the table. Anyways, so the first portion of this blanket is going to be the border of the blanket. And so the first 5 rows are supposed to be garter stitch, with the 5th row being increasing 8 stitches evenly, and I will explain what that means when I get there. But for now, listen to my crappy voiceover because I refuse to pull my microphone out of my drawer. Anyways, there is me taking out my marker that I put in, my stitch marker that I put in, and also me fixing it so I don't have my tail yarn in the way. Anyways, this is how you knit. You put your needle through the back end of the loop thingy, make sure it goes through, and then you wrap your yarn around, and you see that little bar that appears because that yarn appears, and then you grab that piece of yarn and you slip off the loop that's on your left needle. So you do that again, and if you got confused, just rewatch the video. It's the same thing. You just kind of like grab that piece of yarn and pull off, and it's kind of scary doing that for the first time, but you do that for 4 rows. You just keep knitting, and then you flip whenever you're ready. And then you just always flip. You just keep flipping until you have 4 rows of that one pattern. And then for the 5th row, what you want to do is you want to increase 5 rows. But first, I'm going to show you how good my hands look in this lighting, and also what the 4 rows look like when they're in garter stitch like that. I think it's called garter stitch. Whatever, the garter pattern. And you might have this like blue snake looking thing, and it might be weird to maneuver for a little bit, but you know. things happen. So you want to make sure no parts of it are twisted, all the end is facing the right way. That doesn't really matter unless you're joining together, which is what you would do if you're making a hat or like a sock or something. Some patterns call for joining together. And so to increase, you want to get your increase calculator and do the thing increase 8. Like plug it in and knit the pattern that I just showed you. And then keep counting because you don't know how to count and you just scared. Okay, so this is how you make one. So you just do that, right? You grab it, you grab the middle piece, and then you go through the back. But I found like an easier way to do it. You just like kind of slip it onto the right needle, and then you like you just keep maneuvering until it's like the same position where like the right needle's in the back and the left needle's in the front. That's a bad explanation of it, but you just kind of like you slip it over to the right needle and then you move it so that the left needle is in the front. But anyways, here it is again. You want to take the front loop though, because I kept taking the back loop for those two, but it doesn't really matter, I think, because it still looks the same, but like I think the right way to do it is to take the front loop. I don't know why it had like two, but I think I was pulling like a stitch from the row beneath the row that I was trying to do it on, if that makes any sense. But I think I explain it about right now. So there's me, and then I messed up. So you get it from this front thing right there, and then you maneuver, and you just keep maneuvering, and you do that, and that's how you make one. Cool. I really like doing voiceovers because I can be super awkward, but look at that lighting. Golden hours. Yeah. Anyways, Speedy Gonzalez here, back with another video of knitting, I guess. Don't you guys like it? Isn't it nice? It is very nice. I think it's very nice. I'm so sorry. This voiceover is so bad because I'm not pulling out my microphone. Anyways, here's a normal speed shot of what that looks like. I really like this color blue, even though it's not the color that I wanted it to be. I also really like how soft it is. I really like Bernat yarn. Like I'll praise it. I love Bernat yarn. But I've only used like so many other types of yarn. I don't even know most of the brands that I've used before Bernat. So that was day 1 of knitting this blanket. Now on to day 2. Alright, so the first row of the pattern is knit 5, purl 1, and knit 1. So there's me knitting 5. And then what you want to do whenever you purl is you want to bring your working yarn to the front of your work. So you want to whip that little bad boy up to the front, just like, hold on, that. Okay, and then you want to poke your right hand needle from the front to the back of the loop on your left hand needle, and then do that. Wrap your yarn around, grab the little piece of yarn that you just wrapped around, pull through, and then push off. And make sure you don't grab anything other than that piece of yarn that you're supposed to grab. And everything's all good and dandy. Anyways, on to the pattern. So you do that again, and you wrap around, and you grab a little piece of yarn, and then there's that. Okay. Anyways, there's me speed knitting to my YouTube video. And you just, like, the front and the back thing is really the main thing of the purl and the knit. And purl stitches are basically just backwards knitting, like if that makes any sense. And here is me doing a purl stitch and me showing you the little bar that shows up whenever you just do a purl. That's how you can tell, like, keep track and everything. That's how I kept track, and because, like, you just notice that. And this pattern, you do a lot of purling, you do a lot of knitting, and you need to make sure you know what you're doing, so you can count and keep track. And you really can do this from anywhere in the pattern. just wherever you can count from. I usually, whenever I purl 2, which is what you have to do in the second row, or purl 3, which is what you have to do in the third row, that's where I count off from, because it's hard for me to tell sometimes whenever it's like the seated stitch, which is like alternating. Anyways, I messed up, so I'm just gonna try to undo this right now, but that's the wrong way to do it. You want to put your left hand needle through this little loop from the back to the front of your right hand needle, and then you just want to slip it off. And if you didn't get that, just rewatch the video, because I wasn't paying attention fast enough to explain it, and it's kind of hard to explain, and it's like you kind of have to see it. It's like hard to see. You have to make sure that you're grabbing the right like piece of thread whenever you're doing it, and it's kind of the same on the purl. You can kind of just like reverse engineer it, but if you guys want me to show you how to reverse a knit stitch, I think I just said purl stitch, but if you want me to show you how to do reverse a knit stitch, just like ask and I'll post a video for it. But there's me with my little sticky note keeping track of what row I'm on, because I'm a little baby and I don't know how to count or think for myself, other than, yeah, it's hard. And it got dark, and there's me tying the knot. I already tied a knot, so I wasn't really concerned about the fact that I was messing up the knot. But what you want to do is you just want to tie like a normal knot, and then you want to hold like the little loop down all the way to the bottom and make sure it doesn't tighten until it gets to the bottom. That's how you tie it off at the end. And you cut it off wherever you want. But I didn't have scissors on me, so the tail yarn is still on there for a while. Actually, no, it's not. I cut it. Oh, wow. I surprised myself. Anyways, it's me, yeah. Keeping track of everything. I think I did 8 rows this day. And then here is me showing off what I have worked on, and you can really see like all the cubes and everything, all the lines. It's getting more defined, and it was getting there, and I was really excited to see how like the pattern shows off. The edges for the border were really crisp, like the corners of it were, and that was unlike like another blanket that I was working on where it was kind of scrunched up, and I was really happy with the results of it. Like, I really liked this yarn, as I've said before. I really liked the pattern, as I've said before, and it just, everything really came out Millhouse, you know? Day 3 of knitting this blanket, and then I'm just gonna, you'll see, you know? So actually, I had to wash the dishes before my mom did what my computer fan does whenever I try to record anything, and kick in, you know? Like, she was gonna kick me. So here's a fun little video of a very bad angle of me washing the dishes. And then, of course, I had to grab my off-brand LaCroix, or my Sprout sparkling water. And here we go. You're probably wondering why I keep opening a can of grapefruit sparkling water from Sprouts. Calorie-free and unsweetened. The thing is, I really like drinking water and staying hydrated, but water gets really boring to drink after a while. I drink sparkling water instead because it's fizzy and I like the carbonation, and it keeps me away from Dr. Pepper. I take a drink every single time, like a giant gulp, every single time after I make a row. That way I stay hydrated, because for some reason knitting makes me feel very dehydrated and my mouth is like super dry. So that's what we're doing. Also, I put my phone on top of this so that I can record the time lapse and like the instructional part, but I'm recording, and I usually always record on my iPad, but I'm using my iPad to watch YouTube videos, which is why I have to use the voiceover so I don't get like copyright claimed if I'm listening to music or watching YouTube videos, because I don't want to be illegal, you know? So yeah, here's me knitting the next 10 rows. I knitted from row 9 to, I believe I finished row 18, or I just left row 18 unworked. But as I said, I'm gonna put the actual like pattern at the end. And also it's really cool, like you can see the sun go down from my window, and then it gets really dark, and then I turn on my lamp, and then you can still see my can of sparkling water, because this was over the course of 3 hours, and it didn't really go flat until after that. But yeah, I worked from about like 7 until like 10 p.m., which is like a lot for me to just like sit in my chair, because my chair's not very comfortable. I actually like knitting in my beanbag on the floor. But I wanted to get this like kind of time lapse recorded before I was done. And here's the showcase of that part. We're going to take a quick intermission so that I can remove the command strip from my dorm room, because I moved out on May 23rd, and I was very sad because I didn't get to see my roommate. And that was just a terrible way to end my senior year. Anyways, here is all of the rest of the knitting. I will let you guys listen in silence, I guess, because it's not really very interesting. It's just a time lapse. But I knitted the rest of the 28 rows. There are 28 rows in this pattern, not including the border at first. And you just keep repeating that until it's the length that you want, or you run out of yarn. Also, I got like a watch for my graduation present, and here it is. And I'm not trying to flex or anything, but I really love my watch, and I really like how it like I just really like it, guys. Okay, it's very nice. All right, so here's the pattern. You can also find it online at Yarn Inspirations. Here's the first page, and here's the second page. Cool. Bye.